architecture, it's we live in a theater, in a play, and we are all actors. So we need the proper stage. And I think the proper stage for Filipinos is a place where they eat, they drink, they chat, and they show, and they see, and they're being seen. Don't you agree? Good. Filipinos should be able to sing and to paint wherever they are. So if we were to do a building in Norway, probably the building will be very enclosed because the Norway people live inside. It's bloody cold outside, same as Toronto. Here, you go out in the restaurants at night, at least here in Rockwell, they're full. People are all over, and everybody's showing their new hairdress and their new shoes, and etc. And I think that all that exteriorization, which is a character of Filipinos, and perhaps it's a character also of us Latin Americans, we are very outgoing people. We have to create buildings that are not for Danish people or for Eskimos or for Americans. We are different. You Filipinos are different. So you need a lot of outdoor spaces, a lot of meeting places, a lot of places where a crazy Filipino can come with a guitar and sing. Don't you think? To the extent that we do that. So what we're trying to do is not create the Filipino look, because what is the Filipino look? But do create a stage for Filipinos to perform.
You're a star architect. You've made landmark buildings.
Not a star, as much star as you are in the media here, but everything is relative.
Right. Okay, but you've made landmark buildings, the Upper End Bastille and the Verge. Is this something that's going to be another landmark building? I mean, you know, you're working on something here with Rockwell.
I'll tell you a secret, but don't tell it to anybody. I will try to do a landmark building. The only thing is I hope that Rockwell doesn't think that it's too crazy and shuts it down. But yes, my interest would be to try to do something unique. Having said that, I'm quite conscious that Manila, Makati, is developing very fast. There's a lot of star architects, as you call them, coming and designing buildings here. So I guess I'm integrating into a process whereby the city of Manila, Makati, are coming into a new era with the growth of the country and probably looking for newer, better, more interesting buildings.
When you built the Opera Bastille, you were ahead of your time. It was a building that stood out, glass, steel. Now the rest of the world caught up. It's all the same materials. Where do you think your architecture is going to be in the next 10 to 20 years?
To start with, it must be a green building. When we did those glass and fancy looking buildings that were in the cover of all the architectural magazines, we forgot the fact that operating costs were a very key role. Today, the cost of oil keeps on going up, and the buyer, the intelligent buyer, will not only look at the beauty of the building and the glossy and glassy facades, but how much it costs him to cool it and to operate it. So, and we have an ethical obligation to minimize the use of non-renewable sources of energy and use sun, wind, rainwater. So definitely we'll do that. And the other thing we must do, in my opinion, is to do buildings where you integrate different users, different levels of people, different activities. So I don't think today it would be right to do a residential building. We learned from the cities in Europe, for example, or maybe Manila, that is a vibrant city is the city where the resident lives near the doctor is, and where he works, and where he shops, and where he eats. Nothing is worse than the dichotomy of the downtown area where people work and the suburbs area where people sleep. So obviously we will be very keen in doing a building that is multifunctional, that includes residential, office, shopping, restaurants, even perhaps some cultural activities. I'm an architect, I'm not God, and I'm a social architect. But let me go back. True, Manila is not Rockwell project. Makati is not Manila, and there's pockets here and there. But believe me, you go to Sao Paulo, it's exactly the same. You go to Rio, it's exactly the same. You'll see some pockets of the rich, well-to-do, with maybe superficial, showy architecture. You see some favelas where the poor people live that perhaps are more interesting. You have the old part of the city decaying, the new part of the city growing. Manila is very similar to our Latin American cities. There's so much you can do. We learned a long time ago, and probably you did too, studying as urban planning in Canada, that the architect has a limited role. There's many other issues. The most famous case was a case of Pruitt Igoe, a very famous building that were demolished in St. Louis, Missouri, in New York, in the States, because that won the best awards as design. But when they tried to integrate in this beautiful architectural building different societies, different ethnic groups, it was a catastrophe and had to be destroyed 10 years later. There's a limited amount of work that you can do as an architect. But yes, you have to create, if you allow me to use the theatrical language, the stage for this to happen. I love cities to have their own unique look. But when you go to the city and you find the same fashion store, the same hamburger place, the same hotel with the same rooms looking all over, and you look out the window and you say, you know, where I am, because you're absolutely right. You may be in China, you may be in Europe, you may be in South America, and everything looks the same. And it's a pity. It's a pity that it's one of the negative sides of globalization. I think that Manila and you Filipinos are very unique people in the world. Filipinos look different than other people. Their cities should look different than other people's, and hopefully will remain that character. Yes, we will be bringing theories and images and looks that are very international. But hopefully, the work we do will have its Filipino character.